I'm going to talk to you about a change, well, a possible change. I have been using these FMJs for a long time. These are 300s, they're 5 mm's. I do have brass weight in the front inserts. I don't use a fletch, or I don't use a wrap on the back. They weigh about 550. When I started making these, they were 530. I can get them to 530, but I figured out how to get them a little heavier. Anyway, so one day I was listening to a podcast on this really great guy who shoots. He hunts a lot. He hunts Aoudad in Texas. He's really well known for doing that and using a recurve. So he talked about the FMJs and that they end up bending and denting and all that good stuff. And then I was like, yeah, he's right. They do dent and they do bend. And over time, example, I have almost a dozen arrows downstairs, and about a third of them, are bent. Not too bad, but enough. Like if I'm shooting at 50 or 60 or 70 yards, they're off. They're not perfectly on center. So that guy on that podcast, he talked about another manufacturer, Black Eagle. And I've heard of them. I've never shot them. So I thought, hey, might as well give them a try. So I looked it up and I decided on these arrows. They're called Spartans. These are 300s and they're .001 straightness. And they are, I think, 9 grains per inch, something like that. Yeah, they're 9 grains per inch. Example, if you go to the 250s or the 200s, you can get 10 or 11.6 grains per inch, respectively. But I'm doing the 300s, and they do come with these inserts that are still inserts. So trying to build up that weight on your arrow. And then the other thing that I'm going to add to these arrows are these weights. These are Black Eagle weights. See, they're Black Eagle. They're brass weights. These are 75 grains. You can get them in, I think, 30, 50, 75, something like that. So you can get different increments. And you can add to them. So they have a little screw that screws into the back of your insert. It screws in the back of your insert. But then you can also add more weight to it if you want. You can get another 30 grains. Right now, I'm just going to go with a 75 grain because I shoot a 125 broadhead and then a steel insert and then that 75 grain back in. So that'll go in the arrow and it'll add some weight. So I'm trying to get these up. I'd like to get them up to about 540, 550. We'll see how it goes. I do have to cut them down, to my length, I think 29 1/4. And then to add a little more weight, not a lot, but a little, I'm going to put some wraps on. These are 7-inch, but I might cut these down to about 6. And then I'm going to try these new vanes. These are the heat vanes. They're 2.5 inches. And I'm going to try those. I've been using Blazers, the 2-inch vanes for a long time. But these are low profile, so I'm going to try to see how they react. Because I do shoot long distances. I try to practice at long distance anyway. And so we're going to go with that. And again, I'm probably going to use this Arizona fletch tool that has worked great for me because I can throw it in my truck and hit the road and I can take it with me. So when I'm after I cut the arrow down, yes, I've got to scuff it up inside, so I will scuff it up. As you may remember, I use a nail on a 300 grit sandpaper. I put that in there. I give it a few turns, and then I get some alcohol, put it on a Q-tip, rub it out, clean it out before I try to put the insert. Then I will put some glue, and I like this Pine Ridge insert glue. It is really, really, really good. I haven't had an issue with it yet. So we're going to go that route. And then on the vanes, guys ask me, what do you use for your vanes? I will use a goat tough on the vanes. This is a premium glue, again. So we're going to try it out. and see how it goes. Like I said, I'm going to try to get these arrows up to about 540, 550, hopefully, and then we'll shoot them and see how they do. I'm going to see how they work at, 50, 60, 70, and hopefully I can use them at the next 3D shoots. Okay, so now I have my cutter measured out to the right length. I have some existing arrows, my FMJs, that I'm switching away from, and I'm going to these Black Eagle Spartans. And so I have my cutter, I have it set up. It's measured from the nock to where the field tip or the broadhead screws in. So now I'm going to cut some arrows. I'm going to do a roll cut, and let's get a fresh arrow out. So this is the Spartan. Let's cut some arrows. Okay, I'm going to do a roll cut. And then I'm going to go back and square off the arrows in a bit. Okay, so I have some cut. Then I'm going to square them out. So now that I have some arrows cut, I'm going to square where the contact on the front of the arrow, so I'm going to square it. This is a G5 ASD. It's a squaring tool, and it has two options. It has for aluminum arrows, you flip this around, but I have carbons, so I have it flipped so that I can square carbons. Simple way to do it is I get my hand a little bit sloppy, and then I put it on here in this jig. I just roll the arrow back and forth on the jig just enough to make sure it's square, and you can see on the jig. Okay, that's all I do. Okay, now that I have my arrow squared, I need to scuff it up on the inside of it so I get good contact when I put the glue and the inserts in, so it has good contact on the inside of the carbon. Doing that, I use a nail with 300 grit sandpaper. Pretty simple. I just put that up in there and then do a few turns. Turn the arrow, trying to scuff it a little bit. After I do that, then I've got to clean it out. To do that, I use a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip, run it up in there, and just clean it out. Pretty simple. See how much that carbon comes out of there? Let's see, get the remnants, flip it around. Helps dry it out. There you go. So, getting clean. Next, I'm going to glue the inserts in. Okay, now that I've cut my arrows, I've squared the arrows, I've cleaned it out, abrased it, cleaned it out, I'm going to put the brass and steel inserts in. So I do that with this Pine Ridge insert glue. It's really, really good glue. I mentioned it before. It's kind of windy, but that's all right. Put a few drops here and there. Okay. I turn it. I don't have the knock. Actually, I forgot one key. Take the knock out of the arrow. Okay, so that it doesn't push itself out. And then I went ahead and pushed it on. Okay, then I clean it off. So I'm going to clean it. I'll let it dry about 15-20 minutes. It actually dries quicker than that, but so I'm going to let it sit and dry. Okay, so now I have the insert glued in with a weight, right? Remember that I have the brass piece and the steel insert to add weight on the front. I'm trying to build up a good FOC, targeting about 14% FOC to 15%. That gives me a stable aero flight at, you know, distance. And I have a steel knock collar on the back on these Spartans. To add a little bit of more weight on the back to help compensate for the front weight, I'm going to use some wraps, which I don't use very often. So the way you do that is use a mouse pad, you know, for your computer. It's the simplest way to do it. And you line it up and roll it on, and then you apply some heat to the wrap to activate the glue. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've already cleaned these a little bit here, so I'll take this off. Okay, and then I'll do the back, the B on the back. Okay, and then I'm going to try to line it up with the rear of my carbon. Okay. And then just roll it on. Yep. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So then, like I said, you just, you know, guys, you can use a dryer, low temperature, of course, dryer, or you can just use the friction on your hands to activate the glue on these. And that's it. It adds a couple rings on the back end. And next I'm going to put some fletchings on there, and then we'll shoot, fire test. So at distance. Okay, now that we have our inserts in, we have the wraps on, we're ready to put the fletches on. A couple things to mention. I'm trying these new, well, they're new to me, the heat boning low profile fletches. These are 2.5 inches in length, 6 grains, and 0.41 inches high. I've used all types of, you know, from the old blazer vanes, a lot of different ones. I've tried the nitros, I've done a lot of different ones, but I decided I want to try these low profile ones and see how it goes. Now the glue I use is this Goat Tough premium glue. It's very, very good. I love it to death. Can't say enough about it. So when one trick is, I have a Jojan. I have a couple other devices, but I thought I'd break out the Jojan for nostalgic reasons. So this arrow, let's say this arrow, so the wrap ends right here, right? So that's where I want to put my cock feather or the odd colored feather. A lot of guys run all three the same colors, but anyway, what you want to make sure is you run one fletch over this seam. It helps hold it down. Not that you'll really have an issue, but just a suggestion. So I'll put a slight bit of glue, just a real thin bead on this, and then put it down. Maybe if I can get the lid off. There we go. So I'll just put a real slight bead on it. Okay, simple enough. the Jojan, put it in the slot here on, and I'll apply a little bit of pressure, about 10 seconds. It glues, or this glue dries up pretty quick, so we'll just put a little bit of pressure on it, let it seat on there, and then we'll be good. That should be it. Let it sit for 20 minutes or so. Go relax. You don't really need to do it that long, but I usually hit about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So that's it on the fletches. And after we're done here, we can go and shoot them. Well, I finished the arrows. These are a dozen of the Black Eagle Spartans. I finished, like I said, a dozen. I wrapped them this time. Normally I don't. I put knot collars. Well, it actually comes with steel knot collars and insert, but I had to add a little bit of weight, as you saw. But so far, these are pretty good. I'm about 12 grains shorter on arrow weight. These are sitting at 543 versus my old FMJs that, you know, I've done a lot of great things with. These are 555. Yeah, 555. And the one besides the weight difference, the FOC on the FMJs, I was able to dial it in at right around 13.5% FOC. These arrows, these Black Eagles, are exactly 15% FOC. So I've been able to dial that in. If I want to go down to 14, I can add some, you know, I can put a light knock on the back, and that'll help with the FOC. But all in all, I shot a few through the bow, and so far I like them. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it and you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. Go check us out on eaglecapoutdoors.com. Thanks for watching.